Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin,
I'm Craig.
and we have a two-parter episode. We don't really do that anymore, but it feels appropriate. In this case, the first movie we're going to be talking about in this episode is Dune. Now, I guess to give some background info, I've always known what Dune is. I was like, oh, it's that book from the 60s that's very dense and is unadaptable. They tried in the
Space War
80s.
movie.
Yeah. The giant worm that runs around in the sand. They tried in the 80s, but that movie was a disaster because there's a lot of studio interference. And David Lynch has openly rejected that movie. He hates it so much. He doesn't talk about it in interviews because it was such a nightmare for him and he hates it.
Didn't the author like it?
I have no idea. I didn't read that part. I just know it was met with disdain because it's a very dense book condensed into a 2 hour movie.
I
And
could have sworn I read something where he actually liked the adaptation. Funny enough.
well, he's probably one of the only few that like it. I've never seen the 80s one, so I can't speak on that personally. And I believe there was a miniseries in the late 90s, early 2000s on Dune. I don't know how that was received. And I think recently, maybe a couple months ago, someone told me that there's like a Dune universe. I had no idea. I thought it was just one book in this
Well,
giant universe.
so I've heard about this where, depending on how big the books are, so I don't know how many the author Frank Herbert, is that his name? I don't know how
Yeah.
many he wrote, but I know his son wrote a ton of books to kind of profit off his father's works, and people seem to hate what he wrote, so they kind of, I guess depending where you fall on that, either you only think the original author's works are canon versus him and his son. I don't know. I've never read anything, so I don't fall in anywhere, but that's what I've heard. People really hate his son's work, and they don't consider it canon.
So I think he did two books at least, right? There's the one Dune book, and then there's the sequel.
I thought it was a
It might
trilogy.
be a trilogy. Well, whatever the case is, they re-released the movie. Not re-released. They came out with a movie in 2021 called Dune Part One. And I guess Craig, let's just get right into it. I actually, and I'm not going to spoil my opinion on the second one. I thought this one was pretty solid. I was mostly entertained throughout the whole thing. I didn't fall asleep during it. I think it had a tough task of trying to introduce everything in the movie. Essentially, it's like a setup for the second movie, but I think it did a fairly good job in trying to naturally explain all this weird stuff that's going on in the universe.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess for my thoughts, it's part one. That's always going to be a weakness when it's one story split across two parts. It's never going to be a complete movie. But as a terms of like keeping your attention and stuff, I mean, I thought it was fine. I mean, again, for me, I'm new to all this stuff, so I don't really know all of it. So a lot of stuff, explained it well enough. I got it, so I guess it did its job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm not a fan of Dune. Like, I never cared about any of this stuff. I've always, I guess you could say, I had if I was curious, I could have watched this movie when it came out. I watched this like 2 weeks ago, and I could have watched the '80s one. I could have attempted to read the book, so I never really cared about Dune. I just knew there's a giant worm, so
Well, things everyone knows, like the giant sandworms crawling out of the
yeah.
sand.
So the fact that I watched this and I was mildly entertained, I think is a good sign. Because again, I'm not like a big Dune hardcore fan, so I'm not going to be like, well, this didn't happen in the book, and this isn't accurate to the description of the book, and Timothy Chalamet isn't who like Paul is representing the book. Like, yeah, I don't care for any of that.
I mean, they should try because
I'm
I
sure it
only
did a
really
good
look
job with its adaptation. I'll say
well.
that.
It's the second part where they really kind of mess it up.
The second movie?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
I mean, I didn't really search the differences between the first one as much, but the second one, I know that I think people are saying there's a lot more differences.
Well, you know, we I think when we did our Lord of the Rings episode, it's very hard to adapt a novel or a book into screenplay to get those beats. It's not the same way you can do it as in a book.
Well, we'll get to part two, but it wasn't changes like that.
Okay. Well, usually that's the uphill battle writers are they're tasked with when they're adapting a book. So usually, but I guess like well, when we get to part two, I thought it was all very exciting in the movie when uh like the climax of the movie where it's the fall of the Atreides house. I thought that was all very exciting and well done. I
Yeah, where he
knew
gets betrayed.
yeah.
Gonna
Well,
betray
I
you.
will say though, for my viewing, I did know a couple spoiler things just going into it because I remember one of our friends, he was a big Jason Momoa fan, and I remember someone spoiled to him that he dies in the movie, and he was like, "Oh." So I knew Jason Momoa was going to die. I think I knew Leto was going to die, and I forget. I think I heard that from somewhere too. So some of it was kind of spoiled for me already, but it's I didn't know how they all were going to die and whatnot. I didn't know there's going to be a big betrayal. I had no idea.
Yeah,
But
because for me, yeah, I know nothing going in except for the Sandworm, so everything was a surprise. I knew nothing. I was just like, oh, it's on HBO Max for free. I guess I'll watch it.
and I was thinking to myself, like the tradies, they kind of knew that they were going to get betrayed. They
Wait,
kind of
doesn't
knew
Leto
it.
says it like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're falling into a trap.
And I
We're
know
becoming too powerful.
they were influenced by the emperor or whoever. I'm sure they said it, but I'm thinking like they still would willingly go into a trap. It's the most obvious trap in the world. I mean, come on. They
Well,
have control over this place and they just leave.
yeah, it's like going into a trap, and it's not like, oh, maybe we'll lose some soldiers. No, we are going to get ourselves killed. I mean, I feel like that's not the best thing to fall into.
And one
Like,
thing
when you start risking your own skin.
I mean, maybe I wasn't paying attention too much. Lady Jessica, played by Rebecca Ferguson of the Mission Impossible movies, she is essentially like they use the word what is it? It's not
Bene
It's not
Gesserit.
no, not that. It's not like clairvoyant. It's is it clairvoyance where you could like see ahead in the future or have visions?
Um,
Yeah, it is clairvoyance.
I thought that meant something different. Like,
No, because I'm looking at the Wikipedia too. She's a super being with the clairvoyance necessary to guide humanity to a better future. So I guess they don't ever tell you exactly what she can see in the future, but it's like, could she possibly see the attack and the whole Atreides family is destroyed?
well, I think the other, because I know this goes in the part two, but those other witch ladies, they all, I guess, foresaw the attack, but still sent them to their death because they're all pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I get it in the sense like, well, if she did know about it, she had to let it happen for the grand scheme of things. I get that. It's just like, it's kind of silly that if she did know about all this attack, she just like sits idly by, just like nodding her head, like, "Yep, that's gonna happen then." Yeah, he just died. Okay.
Good riddance.
I mean, I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm not a fan of Timothy Chalamet. It's not that he's a bad actor. I don't think he fits the role. He It seems like his acting in this movie, at least, like he's very monotone. And I'm not expecting
Yeah.
some like pulpy, upbeat Tom Holland like kid. Whoa, man, Mr. Stark. I wasn't expecting that, but it just seemed like he was so devoid of any kind of emotion. He's like too stoic for a teenager or whatever, a young adult. He's emotionless. He's like a robot, honestly, in this movie. I
Which is
don't know.
kind of funny when you're
Yeah,
supposed to be some sort of mythical holy figure.
yeah, and maybe they took they or maybe they confused stoic and apprehension. Like, if he is with this mythical person, or he's supposed to be, he could just be more apprehensive about trying to fulfill the role properly. But he's just like no emotion. They just like took it to the extreme.
Well, because when you think of, great leaders or people who are able to sway people by the thousands or whatever, they're usually very charismatic. And not that he has to be oozing charisma, but at the very least, don't be kind of boring and just like mumbling to yourself all the time.
He looks like he's about to cry any minute.
I don't know, that's just for me. If you're supposed to be this messiah figure to these people, you would think that you would do a better job at convincing people by the masses. 'Cause I know that's more in part two, but at least in part one, you can kind of see him becoming that guy, and I don't really see it.
Yeah, and again, I can't speak with the novel or how much different Paul's character is from the book to this, but I would imagine it's better in the novel.
Well, I feel like that's with like everything in these movies. It's probably better in the novel. Well, it's also like I think with most adaptations, so people always gotta. 'Cause I know we talked about this before. When you're adapting something, you're the steward of the story, not the author. So you really should try to present the original author's vision as authentically as possible.
Yeah,
And when people don't, I don't really understand why. It's not your story.
yeah. I
What do
mean,
I know?
they're always trying to put a piece of themselves in these adaptation of other people's work, which very
Uh,
rarely works out, if
yeah.
ever.
And usually the adaptations that work well are the ones that really are hands off.
Yeah, you need like an estate to be overwatching everything.
Even then, sometimes they could, get paid a lot of money and look the other way, like the
That's very
Tolkien estate.
that's very true. I didn't want to name that because I don't want to mention the Rings of Power, but I just did. I'm silly.
Well, I mean, I think that was the first thing I thought of it.
I'm trying to think of other things. I think other than Timothy Chalamet, the cast is all pretty good.
Yeah, got a lot of big
Stellan
names.
Skarsgård, he is a creature in this movie. When I
Oh, yeah, the
first saw that
Harkonnens?
thing, yeah, but his especially, he's like this.
He's so
He
fat, he needs like a
he looks.
anti-gravity thing just to move
I know
around.
this came up before Ant-Man 3, but he looks like MODOK without the suit. Like this disgusting, like unproportioned creature.
But yeah, it's just hilarious. Like he's so fat that he just needs the device to float around.
Yeah,
No,
he's pretty
we
gross.
we already said several times that we don't know anything about this universe.
Yes.
And this almost came as a shock to me that the Harkonnens aren't aliens. They're technically humans.
Are they?
Yeah, there's no aliens in the Dune universe. Every single person is a human.
Really? That's why
From
so I saw set photos of the original Dune movie. And I'm like, that's why everyone just looks like normal. Yeah,
every
like
single person's a human. There's no such thing as aliens. Maybe the worms are aliens, but you know what I mean? Like no intelligent alien races are in this universe. And I saw a lore video, so if I'm wrong, blame that guy. I'll link his video that I saw, but he was saying, yeah, it was just humans colonizing the universe, colonizing different planets, and every single person's a human. I guess that's why everyone can, have children with each other. They're all still technically human.
okay. So why did they make the Harkonnens like I don't know, like bald creatures?
Yeah, white, bald creatures. That I do not know. We didn't read the book, so I don't know what they're supposed to be look like. I mean, I imagine he's probably overweight and fat because that's kind of funny that he's so fat.
Laugh at his poor health choices. Yeah, because I'm looking at the '84
Looks
one,
like a
and
slob.
again, that one isn't well received with this adaptation, but at least all of them look like humans. Like the guy who Austin Butler plays in the second one looks like a human. Sting, he looks like a regular guy. That's very interesting that there's no aliens, because I was under the impression there were aliens.
That's what I was under too. And yeah, I was like, "Yo, let's do some lore diving." Granted, it was like a 15-minute video, but that's what I learned. There are no aliens. Everyone's a human, which is
Interesting.
kind of shocking because most sci-fi material usually have alien species or intelligent alien life. And this is, I guess, one of the big ones that really doesn't, which is just different, really.
I'm just trying to look on Wikipedia about how it explicitly describes them. That doesn't really matter. Oh yeah, so he is uh an overweight. He's described as a grossly and immensely fat, and that he requires anti-gravity devices known as suspensors to support his weight.
I mean, like I said, he looks like exactly as what you would think he
Jeez,
might.
Frank Herbert, tell us how you really feel about overweight people. Grossly and immensely fat. So I guess with the movie too, everything else, like on a technical level, it's top notch. I have no complaints there. It's a very well directed. The cinematography is great in this movie too. Even though I think it has like it feels like at this point the stock Hans Zimmer music where it's just like loud noises, loud bass. I feel like all his movies kind of now sound the same
Well,
with
they're
the
probably telling
music.
him, "Oh, I like the Dark Knight. I like the Inception music. Just do that for
Yeah,
me,
or
man."
the Interstellar one.
Yeah.
It all feels the same, his music, so
I did remember the second one a little bit more
I couldn't even tell you honestly.
because I'm trying to remember the first one's music. I don't remember. I remember the second one because that definitely had more Middle Eastern stuff in it.
Yeah.
So I'm
And of
not
course,
fucking
the Dune worm is in this movie too. It briefly appears. Destroys like a little station, a spice station.
spice.
That was pretty cool seeing it. I was actually like kind of pumped up when I saw it. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, destroy it.
But other than that, yeah, I don't think I have too much else to say. The cast is great besides Timothy. It looks good.
Everyone's great except the lead.
It looks good. It sounds good. The sound design too. I forgot to mention that. It's pretty top notch. No complaints from that department.
I do want to talk about this the visuals because that's the one thing with all these movies. It's got a big budget, but most of these movies, they have tons of green screen. Everything looks terrible. This actually looks good for the budget that it has.
Yeah, it looks very. It doesn't look rushed. It doesn't look like a Marvel movie.
Yeah, which granted, maybe other movies have big budgets and look better, but Marvel's, typically what I think of when you think of big budget movies these days.
This looks like trash.
Yeah, like, terrible. But this actually looks good.
Yeah, the CGI looks great in this movie too. It's just a good looking movie.
I think this guy, all of his movies tend to look good.
Well, Denis Villeneuve, probably just butchered his name. He's a very good director. I've only seen a couple of his movies actually. I've only seen Sicario and the Dune movies, but Sicario is pretty good.
Is it Sicario or Sic? Yeah, Sicario.
Sicario, you mutt. I haven't seen Blade Runner 2049. I heard that was good. So I know he's like a very capable. If you see his name on a movie, 9 times out of 10, maybe even 9.5 times out of 10, it's gonna be good. So I trust this guy when I see his name. It's not like Zack Snyder. I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, I don't think I have too much else to say. I really liked the climax of the movie. Like I said, I thought that was all very exciting. And for in a 2.5 hour movie, I thought it flowed pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. It just I think just the issue of it's part one,
Yeah.
so
I
you
think
don't
it,
really
yeah.
get a full movie for your ticket.
I think it did a really good job at least explaining all the weird stuff and the lore of this universe. Because if I'm not a fan of this and I go into it and be like, what is happening? But I thought they did a pretty good job at dumbing it down for dummies like me.
It's not dumbing it down, just explaining because in the book, you could read like a page or two of just exposition, and it doesn't really matter as much as a movie where you can't have the character just going on a 5 minute tangent every time something important comes up.
Yeah. Was it this movie or is it this next one where Timothy Chalamet just shouts at some girl? Is that the second one?
What does he shout?
It's like one word. He's like, quiet!
I honestly, I saw because I rewatched the first one. And I just saw the second one, so I don't remember.
Oh man, I forget, but it does not. I don't know how to describe it, but when he shouts and he yells, it just sounds so weird. Like it's not threatening or intimidating or I don't know. Like doesn't sound like a leader. Sounds like an angsty teen.
Well, speaking of angsty teens,
You want to just go on the second one?
yeah.
So before we get into that, Craig, I fell asleep multiple times during the second one. Everyone is saying that it's better than the first one, And I thought the first one was way more exciting than this one. I I can't even tell you where I fell asleep. It was a couple times. I guess I missed like a good amount. I don't know how long I was out for. I mean, again, on a technical aspect, this movie is great. It looks good, sounds good. Everything else, I really didn't care for the second one. I like the first one a lot more.
Well, a lot of it to me comes down to what I don't like is the story itself.
Right. Do you
Because
want to talk about some of those differences that you heard?
well, a lot of it has to do with Chani. I thought they kept saying Johnny in the movie. It's Chani.
It's Chani? Okay.
You thought it was Johnny too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why is it that? It sounds like you're saying Johnny. Anyway, one of the big changes is Chani. Uh,
Really?
throughout, Paul's journey of becoming the religious figure, she really didn't question him. She was basically saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, whatever. Do whatever you want. I believe in you, and
Oh,
I'm not
really?
gonna stop you." Yeah. So that's kind of a big change. She was supposed to being his biggest critic. She was like one of his bigger supporters.
Does
And
it? Yeah, you go. Continue.
at the end of the movie, she doesn't run away and run off on a sand dune. She was happy to be, because the way that from what I read, the way that it happened at the end was basically what happened in the movie. He marries the princess to become the emperor, but really he tells her, "You really have my heart, and you will have my children, all that stuff." Because he does actually have a children with her in the book, but he ends
Oh.
up dying.
Oh, okay. Spoiler for Dune Part 3.
No, no, this is in the book, Dune.
Oh,
But
really?
he actually has a child in this. He's supposed to have a child in the movie that gets killed, I think, in one of the raids. But yeah,
Oh,
because
wow.
she was so like, "Oh, I don't believe in you" and stuff.
Yeah, that wouldn't really work. I mean, I guess they needed some kind of tension for the Freeman or Fremen not to believe Paul. I mean, Stilgar believed him. He believed him from the start.
But again, I don't know if that was in the book and maybe they changed it to her because I keep saying, "Oh, it gives her more agency, so it makes her more not a side character, but like she's a side character." I don't know why you can't have a side character. Like she
Yeah,
has
the
that.
story is not about her. It's about Paul.
Yeah, because like every poster shows almost her as the lead because I'm looking at the poster now, she's
She's the
in
second
front of
build.
him.
Yeah.
But she's in front of him on the poster. You'd almost think she was the lead if you didn't know anything about the movie.
Yeah, it's probably done to accommodate Zendaya's like popularity.
Is she more pop? Well, I mean, she's not the star, so
I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of fans of Zendaya. I
not
was
a
gonna say
fan.
how I was gonna say how could she not understand what Paul was doing at the end, where it was like total like not I want to say political manipulation, but it was just total. It was a political move to marry the daughter.
Yeah, and again, the book she understood it completely. She was like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever,
it
I
was
get
more
it."
of like a symbolic marriage. I'm like, how do you not understand this?
And she leaves like, how could you choose her over me? It's
It's
like,
like
well,
he's
he
not.
didn't.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of weird now that I know how the book ended with that, where she just in like runaway pouting.
Which is again what we were talking about before. Why, if you're the steward, why are you making such a big change? Because again, not to bring everything up to Lord of the Rings, but they cut stuff
Let it
that,
go, Craig.
well, the stuff they cut, it's like Tom Bombadil doesn't affect the story too much if you cut that out. This is kind of a big change because where do you go for the sequel? I mean, it completely changes the start of the next movie if you do a sequel.
You know what it's like when you make these changes that affect sequels? It's like trying to fix a hole, and as you're fixing this hole, another larger one like gets created.
They're trying
And
to
then
fix a hole with a sledgehammer.
yeah, then you're trying to fix that hole, and then it opens up another problem. Because then like the more you do that, it just diverges more and more from what the original story was, and like it's like you're becoming unfaithful for because you made one stupid decision. You know what I mean? Like it has like this giant effect. Because I'm sure that's gonna change how her character is in whatever the third movie's gonna be, wherever it's based off of.
I mean, it's even if they do it, who knows?
I think they probably will. This movie was pretty well received. It has like a 90 something as of this recording on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, but the more important thing is how much money does it make?
I think it's made over 200 million already.
That's good, but it's gotta do a little better.
I
I
mean,
know, granted, it's only been out for
as of this recording, it came out a week ago, so that's pretty good.
yeah,
If it
and
has
I think
200 million in 2 weeks, that's not good.
yeah. And I think the other big change was, so I think it's, I guess, because I didn't understand like the timeline for how this movie happened. In the book, I think it takes place over a few years where he becomes their messiah.
Well, that would make sense if he has a child, especially.
Yeah, he'd have like a young baby. His sister would have been born too. Remember his mom was pregnant the whole
So
movie?
the sister was born in the book?
Yes. And
Wow.
I think she was able to talk. Yeah, I didn't read the book. I'm just, I can Google. And apparently the sister was born too. So that's another big change. So I don't know why she wasn't born, why they didn't.
Yeah,
Because again,
that was a
I
little
thought the
weird
movie,
in the
I thought the
movie.
movie several, months or years it might have passed. Because especially Thanos, when he comes back, he had his head shaved. Now he had his hair all long. That at least implies months had passed.
Yeah, I guess you could say also it's like the change they made in Fellowship of the Ring. Not to bring up Lord of the Rings again. It's
Yeah,
like
you
you
did it,
make,
not me.
yeah, I know, you make the story more urgent if it doesn't take place over years. You make the conflict more urgent. Like, what was it, 19 years passed and
17.
17 in Lord of the Rings before Bilbo even sets off?
Frodo.
Oh, that's what I meant, Frodo. Before Frodo sets off.
But for this would make sense. Like you're slowly getting victories over the course of like two
Yeah,
years, maybe
this one
three
would be
years.
better to do that.
Plus, it shows him integrating better with the Fremen because he basically marries someone. I don't think he officially marries her, but he has a child with her.
Yeah, that's
His mother
interesting that they
becomes
just
a.
did not have that in there. That's very interesting.
And I don't know what you could really do to. I mean, they'll say, "Oh, she has more agency," blah blah blah. Well, she's not the main character, so I don't really see why it matters.
Yeah, I mean,
Because the other theory I saw was that obviously, if you know anything about this movie or you saw the movie, religion bad. We get it. And they were saying, oh, she was the character to maybe voice the author's concerns, but I don't think you need a character for that. The story should do it just fine. I don't know why you need another character to basically beat you over the head with, he's using his religion to control you. Oh, oh, oh.
interesting. I did not know all this. I would love to see like once this movie's released on Blu-ray, a like what's the difference between book and movie? I'd be
Well,
very
there's probably
curious.
videos out now.
Yeah, but so they could show like clips from the movie because there's this YouTube channel called Cinefix where they did that for Lord of the Rings, and I thought that was very interesting. All the differences between the books and movies. I was gonna say also, a lot of people were talking about Austin Butler's character, and he played that creepy alien.
Not an
What
alien.
guy? What's his name?
I don't remember what
Character's
his.
name was Feed Rutha Harkonnen. He's Vladimir's youngest nephew and heir to the House Harkonnen. He replaces Batista Bomb as like the main antagonist. And to me, a lot of people are praising him. Again, I'm not trying to hate on the movie, but to me, he felt like a villain of the week. You know what I mean? He just felt like, oh, there's a new badder guy in town.
Yeah, a
And
little
he's
bit,
he's
especially.
weird. He's creepy. That's his thing. He's creepy and
Well, I think the whole Harkonnens are creepy.
yeah, but he's like extra creepier because he twists his head and whatnot. I don't know. He just felt like a villain of the week to me.
Well, yeah, because we don't really see much of him. We see him cartoonishly have a gladiatorial fight. We see him cartoonishly like kill people, and he burned that woman alive. That was kind of it.
Yeah, he's like Mr. I'm a bad guy. We don't know
Which
really much about him. I mean, you could say the same about Batista, but at least
that
like,
too. Well, I think oh no, in the movie, remember they were saying like, oh, he's like a playboy, but he's not. He hasn't been ready to lead yet, lead the house. It's like I guess. I mean,
Batista?
no, no, no.
Oh, the other guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really compare it to the fat guy. Because besides just being so visually different, like gross and grotesque,
I
he was
thought
at
he's
least
more intimidating than whatever that other guy is. The Fade. I thought
yeah. Well,
Vladimir was more scary.
because didn't he have like powers
Yeah,
from the
he
first
killed a
one?
couple people.
Yeah. Plus, again, he's also just the schemer too. Besides being grotesque.
They're schemers.
Yeah, I didn't really care for him. And then The Emperor, I'm assuming he's a bad guy, but they didn't really seem to try to make him a bad guy. They always made him seem like he was a victim throughout most of the movie.
Was that how it was in the book too, or no?
Oh, that I have no idea.
Okay.
But then again, I think in the book he was probably more of a bad guy because he basically schemed to get the Atreides killed. He sent his troops in with the Harkonnens to kill all of
Yeah.
them.
You know, I guess I can understand the symbolic notion of Paul not killing the Emperor, but if I was him and I went through all he went through, I would have killed him. Especially
Yeah,
knowing that they were in direct cahoots with the Harkonnen to destroy your family.
yeah, and like they came back essentially to stomp you out again.
And you could still, I mean, I know then the princess say like, if you let him live, you can marry me and succeed him or something. I would have killed him. Why not?
What should you do? Say no?
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that, but
like
uh,
again, I'm not a bloodthirsty monster. I know why he didn't kill him. I get that. I'm just saying me personally, and I went through what Paul went through, and there's like that great shot in the first movie when he's just watching everything just get destroyed.
yeah.
I would have stuck a dagger in him.
I just thought it was weird where he'd almost like the innocent old man, like, what do I do? What do I do? With all this problems on my hand, like you started this. You ordered them to get killed. And now you have an uprising on the planet, and their son wants revenge. Like, what do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah, I totally agree. Again, I understand also, I thought the Lady Jessica stuff was weird. I understand what was happening in terms of plot. Like, one of those elder people are dying, and then because Lady Jessica is. It turns out she's a Harkonnen, and so is
Yeah,
Paul. But she has like those powers where she is like on par with those witches essentially. So she replaces one of them, and then she's like not omnipotent, but she's like so in touch with everything. It awakens her unborn child
yeah. Who's
that
now
can
talking to her?
speak to her, and then it shows her as an adult as Anya Taylor Joy. I'm like,
Yeah, which is
what
weird
is
because
happening?
again, in the book she does get born, or she's alive. She's not just in the womb the whole movie.
Yeah, I just
So
I
here's
know.
something,
Yeah, you
because
go,
I
you go.
mentioned this before. With these witches,
Yes.
they seem to be pulling the strings behind everything. For every house they're behind, why not just wipe them out?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
because it's this all-female group that's scheming behind the scenes. They could control basically anybody with their voice. They could see into the future and like they pull the strings to screw people over and protect themselves. Like I probably would have killed them. Like God's like, hey guys, these guys are causing us a lot of trouble. They can control us all basically at any time. We can't fight back. I mean, that doesn't seem like a good idea to
Makes sense
have
to
these people
me.
running, have these people running around controlling everything. Maybe there's a reason in the universe that I don't know about. Probably. I just think having these groups of people running around is very concerning.
So I don't. I totally agree, but I don't know if you know this, but is the Dune universe set place a couple thousand years after like Earth, or is it a whole nother universe like or system?
Yeah, it takes place tens of thousands of years into the future, I think, from what I read
Yeah.
correctly.
I honestly, I got a chuckle when Paul was like, "We're going to use this nuclear stockpile and destroy the spices as like a stalemate." I don't know why that made me laugh because I was like, "This is in the future. This is a distant universe, and they just still have nuclear weapons."
Well, remember, this was written in the 60s.
I know, I know what it's trying to say, but I'm just like, I thought that was kind of funny.
Well, I thought it was funny because how did he get all these nukes there? I mean, they only had control of the planet for, what, like a week? I mean, I don't know how long, much time passed in the movie. Like, wouldn't you find the time to move every single nuke in your arsenal onto this planet?
And I think word for word in the movie, it was Thanos said like it's in an obvious spot that's not obvious. It was like in a mountain.
You hide it in plain sight.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
like,
like, these desert people would have found it if they'd been there for so long, right?
that's what you would have thought, but I guess not.
So one thing I didn't understand also, and this is like a very, 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 very minor thing. Do their eyes only glow blue when they're outside?
It's when I think they said it's after long exposure to The spice.
Oh,
Because
okay.
because I don't think Paul and his mom's eyes were as blue as the rest of them, but they were turning blue.
Yeah, but it's like every time they're inside like a cave or something. It's never going blue. And I was
Well,
like, what?
I think it's supposed to.
Isn't that like the Freeman's like whole thing is going blue? Like I know that much at least. I know very little, but I know that.
Well, it's because of their exposure to spice.
Right.
Now, I
Again,
do have a
that's such a minor complaint.
see. I have a say again. Maybe if I read the book, this would be better explained to me. But I have another thing to talk about.
Oh, okay.
So this is a major plot point, but so those witches, they've been on the Arrakis for a long time, basically lying to the people who live there about some prophecy where their Messiah is going to come and free them. So I just didn't understand these. They're all technically humans, and it's humans telling other humans about a prophecy. And I know they're gonna say that's commentary on religion, blah blah blah. But I just find that hard to believe that a bunch of witches known for lying are telling a bunch of people, "Your Messiah is going to come. We swear." And I mean, I guess they were right on their predictions, but I just find it very weird that so many people were like zealots about this.
Hmm.
Because they said several times in the movie, like were manipulating them, trying to get them to believe this prophecy for, I don't know, centuries or decades or whatever. But you know these people are witches who have no affiliation with you. And you're all humans, so you know they're humans lying to humans.
Yeah, I mean to go back to the other point, it's like they haven't or they would never catch on to the idea that they're secretly pulling the strings.
But even if you didn't think that, it's at least why would you trust these people who are, again, are just another group of humans that came to your planet to guide you or whatever, but they're telling you of like this Messiah that's gonna come and like turn your planet back into turn from a desert back into like a water paradise. Like I don't know, man. I wouldn't really trust these people.
I don't trust it.
I just find it very weird. You know, it's not like I don't know. It's not like other religious stories that we have.
Yeah. Again, like we know nothing about the source material, so I'm sure maybe the book has better explanations as to
Because
who
those are
they
humans that
are
moved to that planet thousands of years ago and chose to believe these witches' lies. Because I don't know.
because reasons.
Because
So I
it's not.
guess oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
you
know.
keep going.
No, I just find it very weird that they were so devoted. But whatever.
So if you're a fan of Dune sandworms, I think you'll get your dollar's worth. A lot of worm action in this movie. Paul rides one. I didn't know they do that in the movie.
A lot of worm action.
He rides one. They use him in the final battle. I thought they're all pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the worms.
I thought like so in my mind. So I thought the final battle would be more grand because it's like it's a sci-fi movie. That's how they all usually end. This one kind of ends on a not a I don't want to say a whimper, but it just like it didn't have the same climax. At least like what's the word? It didn't have the same climax that was like I guess you could say loud and big as the first movie. Like this one, it kind of just ends with Paul stabbing that one guy, and then he takes the throne.
Well, I mean, I think it's more about going to the sequel with the start of the Holy War.
I get that. I'm just saying like again like we know nothing about it, but that's what I was expecting. I was expecting a giant confrontation, and that kind of happened in the movie, but it was like piece by piece they were dwindling them down, and that was like throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all at once at the end, which I was honestly which I was thinking. I thought like one of those dune worms was gonna die, and then like more of them come out. I don't know. I was thinking some weird things, but
The Dune. Also, when Paul kills that Harkonnen's nephew, he'd say like some quip. That's what you get for killing my dad, punk.
did you
Yeah,
say that?
something. No, no, but like
Oh,
that's what I was thinking too. Like maybe I'm just losing it a bit, or just the fact that this isn't a Marvel movie. There's not some dumb joke at the end, like, Oh, look at Harkonnen. Oh God, he looks like a big whale or a big seal or
Oh
whatever.
God, could you imagine if it was the Marvel humor when they first see Vladimir?
Vladimir. What a dumb name.
Well, no, just looking at him like, oh my God, that is the most grotesque thing I've ever seen.
Pigs can fly.
Yeah, just I guess we watch too much trash and we don't
Yes, that's because of
watch
you.
we don't watch good stuff. I would say that overall this is a good movie. I was it's a good movie in terms of like every technical aspect, but I guess I was just bored, honestly. And again, I'm not a Dune fan. I had no investment, no emotional. I wasn't like a childhood Dune fan growing up or something. I didn't really care. And I guess I didn't like the movie enough to like convert me into liking Dune more. I'm just like, I got my Dune bucket. I'm
Oh yeah,
okay.
I forgot to mention. Ever since the picture, like we were, because remember you saw the movie before us. We're like, oh, Colin, you get the Dune bucket, and you actually did.
Yeah, I put like in all caps. You mean this? Like with SpongeBob with the shell conch.
You mean like this?
His eyes are crossed. Yeah, it's the most disgusting popcorn bucket I've ever seen.
So did you actually eat popcorn out of it?
I tried to, and my fist couldn't fit,
Oh man.
so I took it off and I started eating my popcorn. I got the popcorn for free, but the thing was like $20,
I don't think it doesn't sound like it was worth it.
sitting right in my room. I'm looking right at it.
Yikes.
It's a Dune worm. Do you have anything else to say about this movie?
Well, I guess to really go into the meat of it, like I don't really care or like the story. I made that comment about angsty teens, and that's basically how I think the author views religion, a very angsty teen view of it.
Hmm.
Because I mean, again, not very subtle, saying, "Oh, religion bad, religion controls people," blah blah blah. No real nuance or anything. Uh, Something that always bothers me when people talk about stuff like that is there's multiple ways to control people, and everyone serves a master, whether they realize it or not. So people
That's
may think they
true.
don't serve a master, but they will. They do. Everyone has a master. And if you don't think you have a master, that's probably very bad because you don't even realize who your master is, but you do serve one.
That's like more being just naive and oblivious if you don't think you serve a master.
Also, was this movie released in the Middle East?
Uh, I know they filmed some of it in Abu Dhabi, but I don't know if it had any like global bans.
Because
Like,
I didn't hear anything, but I'm curious because obviously they're not making Islam look good. Because I mean, the guy has a Muslim sounding names like Mudabi Deeb or whatever. That's a Muslim word. I don't know what it means, but I know it's a Muslim word. Or not Muslim, Islamic word.
yeah, I don't know.
And in the book, I think they explicitly say like he starts a jihad on the universe.
Did they say that?
I don't think it's said in the movie, but in the book, at the end of the movie, he starts his jihad. That's what he was talking about in the movie. Oh, this is like bloody war that's gonna happen, the holy war.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, it's his jihad across the universe so he can secure the throne.
Right, because I know that's what the third movie or the what the second book is based off of. I said that backwards. You know what I mean. It's what the third movie's gonna be. It's on the that whole war. I'm curious to see. I mean, I can always look it up to see how the book goes, but I'm curious to see how far Paul goes because the movie kind of implies that he is what's the right word? He's like teetering to the opposite way. Like he lost his way a little bit when he has all this power.
Well, yeah,
So
because that goes into the themes where, people become too zealous over religious figures and stuff. But that's what we were talking about too. Like he doesn't really seem all that charismatic. I mean, even people who were bad, who were at least they were charismatic, good, public speakers can kind of get people on their side. He was the complete opposite. If he was talking, I don't think I would follow him to Dunkin' Donuts.
I mean, he's like mumbling half the time. Not maybe not mumbling, but he's like speaking very low. It's just the same monotone voice he has the entire movie.
Yeah, again, maybe that's how it is in the book, but when you think of charismatic people that can convince, anyone that, especially for if you're their messiah, you think you'd be more charismatic to sway millions of people or whoever people live on Arrakis. He has the people to start a holy war across the universe, so there should be a lot of people he's turning.
Yeah, I mean, even his speech, I felt like is forgettable, where he got the Fremen to like join him.
It almost felt rushed because all he does is go to somebody who goes, "I saw your future." Like the one guy in the crowd of like thousands, and it's like everyone believes him.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the Dune movies are the first movies I've seen Timothy Chalamet in. So from my outsider point of view, and maybe you could say, oh, this movie he's in is really good, or this movie he's in is really good.
Is he a nepo baby?
I don't know, and I don't think he's didn't think he was that good. I have nothing against him. I am incredibly jealous of his jawline. My God.
Oh,
But
we should have seen Wonka. He's in that.
I didn't want to watch that because the trailers made him look like he was horribly miscast.
Well, also, it sounds like they have a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I don't understand why they would do.
What's a prequel?
Yeah, prequel. Just that alone makes you
A
not want to watch
prequel
it.
to the Gene Wilder one, not the Johnny Depp one.
Really?
Yeah, pretty sure. I don't think they would ever want to. I think a lot of people hate the Johnny Depp one, so no one really. I guess they don't want any connections to that.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think also I saw some. Okay. There's two things I want to mention. They don't really have anything to do with the movie, but someone showed me the red carpet or one of the premieres of the movies, and Zendaya had this one outfit that just
Oh yeah.
looked like C3PO. I'm like, is this what fashion is now? This is like, how is it you sit there at the premiere? This is almost a 3 hour movie. How are you comfortable in that?
Well, I've heard a lot of these people don't actually. They just go to the red carpet, get their picture taken, and leave.
I believe that, especially when she's wearing that. Like, I don't get it.
Well, I would counter with the fact that I've seen other people go to these premieres, and a lot of these women, or maybe it's not movie premieres, but like other Hollywood event stuff, and a lot of them show up basically naked.
Yeah.
So at least she has clothes on to step in the right direction. I don't know if you've seen like these people will wear basically see-through clothing.
Yeah. I was also gonna say also, I saw the premiere photos and what's her name? Florence Pugh is in like very prominently in all the photos. So I thought she was gonna be in the movie a lot, and she's barely in the movie. She's like sprinkled throughout the movie. So I'm like, that feels like false advertising. That she was like front and center in all these premiere photos with everybody.
Well, yeah,
Like, she's
that the
barely in the movie.
poster with Chani being on the front. It's like they wanted to forget about Paul, even though he's still the main character.
And also with Zendaya too. I mean, I think she delivered her lines better than Timothy did. But even
You know, on a
so,
first name basis now.
yes, it's just easier to say Timothy than Timothy Chalamet. And Zendaya's name is only Zendaya. She doesn't have a like a actor last name. Just
Is her name
Zendaya.
actually Zendaya?
It is.
Really?
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, you're making fun of me for just saying the first name. I thought she was better than Timothy. I didn't think she was great in terms of her acting skills, but I thought she was way better than Timothy. Everyone else in the movie's like pretty good. I mean, Austin Butler, who plays that feed guy, again, I just felt like his direction was, yeah, act weird, act creepy. You're Mr. Villain of the Week. Act weird and creepy, and try to be memorable. And it's like they forget what makes a memorable villain. It's not them just acting weird. It's them being imposing. They directly challenge the protagonist. It's the more clever ways they're superior to the protagonist too. It's not because he's just like this maniac that's running around.
I was gonna say the other character that I liked was Stilgar.
Oh, Javier Bardem.
Yeah, Yag Sparrow.
He's pretty good in a lot of things he's in.
But he was, I think, at least more. I don't know. I felt like the better character because he was actually, had range of emotion. He was.
Oh, he's a good actor. Shocker, right? The best actor there can act better than everyone else.
He had a range of emotion. He had conviction. Like that's the thing with characters. I don't like the wishy-washiness of where it's like, oh, boo hoo, I don't want to be the this thing that I'm fanning the flames of. It's like,
Yeah,
make
like
up your mind. Be the
he was
Messiah or don't.
fully on board with Paul being the Messiah. He didn't let anyone try to sway his opinion. He was like, "Yep, I know what I believe. I know what I
He was
see."
right, sort of.
Yeah. I think movies should do that. Like if they should start doing that more, is where they should just have characters that have conviction. That's like real people. I mean, I guess you could say real people are sometimes wishy-washy, but in movies, it feels like everybody's wishy-washy.
I don't know. I just that's
Have
what
one
I've
guy
always
double down.
liked.
Why not? Do it.
Well, people with conviction, at least, because there's that strong element where like I know what I believe. I'm strong-willed. That's better than someone who's like, I don't know what I want. I'm gonna do whatever someone else tells me to do. It's like, man up.
Shut up.
I don't know. I just feel like that's more because we're talking about like charismatic leaders. People who are charismatic leaders usually have, at least to portray, they have strong convictions. There's like, probably something in the human psyche that makes us like that. At least maybe us.
Yeah,
Because people
whatever,
who aren't,
pal.
strong-willed, it's like, oh, who wants to follow that guy? He can't even decide what to eat for breakfast.
Yeah, who
He's a
wants to
crying over
follow
there.
this malnourished, monotone, stoic guy?
Yeah, well, he's like whispering to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to, sway a room of thousands by whispering.
And then when he does shout, it just sounds like so weird.
It just, yeah, it will feel weird because it's like he's whispering the whole movie, and now he's yelling. Now he's trying to be
It's like a
charismatic.
preteen yelling at you. You're like, what?
Like, sit
I know you're
down.
not yelling at me.
You sure you want to yell at me? Make me come over there.
Like if Javier Bardem was yelling at me, I'd be like, okay, man, like relax. Like if he, I could see him riling up a crowd.
He
But
did
like,
in the movie, right? When
well,
he was
yeah,
on the.
he did. But I'm just saying, like, with his range of acting, I could totally see it, and I'd buy it. But Timothy doing it, I'm like, I'm not buying it, man. I think we're talking too much about the negatives. I think overall, as a movie, I kind of liked it, even though I fell asleep multiple times. I got to see my Dune worms, so that's cool.
Your dunk worms.
I guess this is a controversial opinion, but I like the first movie more. I really did. I thought it was more exciting, more engaging, more interesting, and it felt more memorable, dare I say. I saw Dune 2 more recent than part 1, and I remember more from part 1.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I liked part one more just because I really don't like the message of the story. It's not as prominent in the first one.
That's fine, but I think they're both um, technically well-crafted movies. You can't go wrong watching them, I guess, for entertainment, but I prefer the first one more.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is also where, again, what I didn't like about the first one is that, again, you're telling one story split across two movies. I'd rather just one super long movie. Because,
I didn't mind the break. I really didn't. Or like the part 1, part 2. I thought this first one ended at a good point.
yeah, I just, for my own reasons, I
Yeah,
just
I
don't,
bet.
because, well, typically it's done for money grabbing when they split things across two parts.
Well, I think in Dune's case, it's like,
No, I don't believe they did it for money reasons. I think they were just felt like it was too dense,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
but I still don't like it.
Like The Hobbit.
Yeah, because yeah, especially at the third movie where you're just running out of steam at that point. You're just making stuff up just to pad the runtime.
They're running out of steam in the first one.
Well, yeah, but if they split across two movies, that's whatever. I think that's doable, but I don't know. I just don't like because I feel like as the person seeing the movie, the audience,
You feel
you're
kind of
not
cheated.
Yeah, because you're getting literally half the movie you're supposed to be
Well, not
getting.
even that too. It's like if a movie's split into three parts or two parts unnecessarily, it feels like they're dancing around what they're trying to really do. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
because
we want you to get to this part, but you're gonna have to follow us through this side quest over here.
yeah, which again, this movie it doesn't hit all that stuff, but typical movie structure, story structure. There's like the beginning, the climax, then whatever. When you split across two parts, you're not getting that full story. You have to really watch both movies back to back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think I'd ever watch these movies again. Like I said, I don't
Watch the
care.
worm scenes on YouTube.
Yeah, it'd be like minute and a half clip from two movies that are like almost 3 hours.
3 minutes of the worms being iconic.
Yeah, somebody would probably make a YouTube comp like that. Yeah, it'd be like the Dune worms from Dune being iconic for 2 minutes straight. But yeah, this isn't going to convert me, and I can't imagine unless you're really into Dune.
You don't believe in the Messiah. That's why you aren't
No,
converted.
I just never cared for this stuff. I didn't
Yeah,
see the like I said, I didn't see the first movie when it came out. I had no interest. I'm like, I don't want to watch these people on a sand planet have like quarrel with each other. I could care less.
I think you gotta follow the Muad'Dib and convert to
Oh, you
whatever.
shut up. Do
You
you have
gotta
anything
convert to
else?
whatever Islamic
Oh, shut
thing
up.
they're making fun of.
Do you have anything else you want to say about Dune or Dune Part Two?
Well, I think I mean, Dune Part 2 looked just as good as the first one, which,
Yeah,
again,
it's like
good.
the same crew, so
Like I said before, it's nice to see that movies that have big budgets don't look like garbage.
that's also very true.
They weren't just filmed on a green screen.
It
Even if
seemed
they
like
did,
you know what
at
it is
least
also?
looked convincing.
It seemed like there's a lot of passion in it. Like they actually cared. It was like Marvel where they kind of phone it in.
Yeah, because this is like an actual story, not, trying to pad the MCU to keep the gravy train
Yeah.
going.
Like however you feel about the movie or its themes and whatnot, like you could tell at least they really cared about wielding this source material and trying to make it into a movie. Like there's you could feel the passion and passion shows up in the movie. You could tell that they took time with everything. The studio definitely cared because nothing looked rushed. It's not like Marvel where it's like, oh, we have this release date. We've had this release date for 3 years. Yeah, we started shooting 2 months ago. We got to get this movie out. I'm exaggerating, but that's how Marvel is.
Well, then there's the test screenings where they basically try to handcraft it to get the most audience happiness. Well, this is just, yeah, this is the story. We're not gonna. I mean, I don't know if they probably everyone. I know everyone does test screenings, but it doesn't feel like it was catered specifically to every test screening they did.
Yeah, I feel like maybe unless it's like a total disaster, I feel like movies based off books don't really have test screenings
Because I feel like
or like major test screenings.
because they already have the built-in audience. I mean, there's people like Dune. They'll probably go see the movie. It's a bit of a it's like a safer movie to release than something brand new or like a Marvel movie. Where you wanna squeeze as much dollars you can out of it.
Yeah, we gotta stop talking about Marvel.
Well, I mean,
But
it's kind of hard not to. They have a big stranglehold. Well, maybe not as much anymore, but they used to be every year like the top movies financially. Everyone was trying to copy them. Got to be the next Marvel. Got to have our own cinematic universe.
like Argyle,
Yes, the spy cinematic universe, the dark universe,
The
Monsterverse,
Matthew Vaughn universe, Kingsman and Argyle,
the Monsterverse,
and the Kingsman.
Godzilla X Kong, Adam Wingard.
All right, okay.
Trying to get you riled up.
Not today, not today, demon. Okay. Well, with all that being said, I think what would you give out of 10 the first and second movie? What would you give the first one?
Oh, well, it's one story, so together I'd give
Rank?
maybe.
No, not together. I said
To me it's one story. You have to,
okay, whatever.
I don't know, maybe a three or a two.
10?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I
Okay.
strongly dislike the story and its messaging.
Okay. I think I'd give the first one like a 7, and I think maybe I'd give the second one a 6 or a 5. Like I said, I like the first one a lot better. Felt like a more complete and better movie. That's just me, though. I think if you have these on as background noise, maybe you would start watching it. But that's just me. With all that being said, though, this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin,
I'm Craig.
and we will see you next time.